How you doing, AJ? And I am having the opportunity to visit with the head football coach at the University of Texas, Mack. And Mack, I just heard you for an hour and 15 minutes, so I'm not going to hold you long. I know talking is something that some of us have to do in this world, and you had to do a lot of it. But the thing that caught me of the whole thing of doing that, which you said, you had fun with this one. This was a fun class to recruit. That is always something. You've been in this business a long time. Sometimes that's not fun to go recruiting, but this was fun.
Keith, it's not. I think it's fun because we chose the right guys to bring in. We worked with the right families. The high school coaches really were honest with us and made sure that we had credible families that had kids with tremendous character, and they wanted to come to Texas. And I felt like that in looking back as the staff, it was, we said earlier, we brought 25 guys to campus and signed 25 guys. So it was a year where we were able to tell the guys what we expected of them, tell them about who we are, bring them in to let them visit and the parents visit with our players, let the players tell them the truth, and then it just all worked. And Keith, it doesn't always work, as you well know. There's sometimes you think, what's that kid thinking? And this is a year where most of the guys that we wanted decided to come. So it's really a fun time and an exciting time. I just love this class. I feel like I've been recruiting them now for 2 years. So
that's what you said.
It does.
Because it's getting that way now. I mean, just to take the folks real quick again through some of these guys you saw 2 years ago as sophomores. They come to camp. You start seeing film. You're starting to build relationships with them. That long. I mean, it is. It's like you've been in their family now since they were first time they started shaving.
Keith, there's no doubt, and for fans to understand, and I mean fans of other schools too, there a few difficult things for a head coach around recruiting time is, number one, you may not be able to take all the kids at a position you want. So there may be 10 wide receivers in the state of Texas that we would like that could play at Texas, and we can only take 4. And what an awful thing when a kid wants to come and you have to sit there and he says, Coach, I'm a Texas fan. I died to come to Texas my whole life. Yeah. And you have to say no. It's a very difficult thing. Sure, it happens to all of us. Even more difficult when the head coach takes one and doesn't take the other, and then that one backs out of it.
That costs you 2 or 3.
Costs you 2 or 3. And then you're taking or going back on someone you turned down. He's mad at you.
Yeah.
And at Texas, everyone that we do not take or that goes somewhere else is mad at us and plays against us. So that's why people play so hard, I think. The other thing we discussed a little bit during the press conference are the numbers. It's very hard to project. You want to have what you've got, but if a young man's unhappy that he's not playing, yeah, if he makes a poor decision off the field, if he doesn't pass in the classroom, then all of a sudden you have 2 pop up or 3. So then you have to be ready to fill those needs. And you have to recruit 2 years ahead. So we were talking about this is a huge offensive line class for us coming up next year. It's a huge defensive back class for you because you're not sure how many guys you'll lose. Sure, so you just have to continue to recruit really good players that aren't worried about competition. It's amazing to me that a lot of our competitors will say, don't go there, they got good players. Sure. Boy, I hope. If we don't have good players, then we're not going to be here.
But you got to be willing to compete. A young man, that never deterred me. I mean, I've wanted to come here. This is where I wanted to play football, and I knew there was going to be 50 of them at that time. We're going to come in every bit as good or better than I ever thought about being. You had to want to go compete.
There's no doubt. If you're not going to win games in the fourth quarter with kids that don't want to compete, and there's enough place for all of them to play if they're good enough and if they come in and get better. I think the other reason, Keith, I'm so excited about this class, it's not who you sign. And fans from all schools need to think about that. Some of them may not even get in school across the country. We feel like all of ours are in good shape academically. But there will be some classes today where the fans are so excited they'll never see those kids. Yeah. They'll never get in school. There's others that will never play for whatever reason. Maybe they get too heavy. Maybe they get hurt. You've seen all your teammates.
Sure.
There's some guys with great ability, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't work. So what we want is we want to look back at this class and say, it was a class that had great potential coming in, but they earned the right at the end of this with championships and with character and with graduation rates, that they were able to be a class that we were as proud of at the end as we were with what they accomplished against other 16 and 17-year-olds in high school.
Well, and it's an outstanding class. just last question here. Just walk us through what's going to take place now over the next 4 weeks to a month and a half. Because I know spring training's coming. You may tweak everything. You were talking about tweaking a few different things. Just walk us through what you and your staff are going to do the rest of the spring.
You just look at the obvious things. Well, number one, our players are working in the off-season program 4 days a week at 6 in the morning. So they wake up at 5, and fans think they only work in spring and fall.
Oh, yeah.
These young guys they're up every day at 5. They're over here at 5:30 stretching. So they work from 6 to 7:30, and they're in their 8 o'clock class. So they are working so hard, and they'll do that Monday, Tuesday. They are off Wednesday. They do it Thursday and Friday. So they work really hard. We've really pushed trying to improve academically. We'd like for every young man to graduate. We've said that. It hasn't happened. And that's on us and on them. So we're really pressing them hard. Every coach is meeting with the kids in their office about their academic schedule and their classes and their tests, and we're pushing our academics as hard as we can.
And we spent money, beautiful, unbelievable academics.
It is. Bill Powers and DeLoss have enabled us to upgrade to a point that now there is no excuse.
Right.
We have all the facilities that we need. All these young men are bright enough. Usually if a young guy's not doing well in school, it's usually social. It's not academic.
Right.
And we've got some other students and some fans listening that probably missed a few classes in their day. So I'm in that group too. I don't want them to
I raised my hand, folks. It's radio. But
in fact, I went back and looked at my college transcript, and I thought I made all A's and B's. And when I looked at it, I didn't want my children to see it.
No, mine either.
My memory was not like I
as
thought
good
it
as
was. Our coaches, other than at every 6 o'clock in the morning workout, and talking to the kids on an individual basis daily, they are researching things on their side of the ball.
Right.
We're really looking at our punting.
Okay.
The rugby punt, for instance, was good for us. It wasn't as consistent this year as it was last year. You have fewer block kicks with it. We had one this year, but we shouldn't have.
Yep.
And there's very few returns. Well, is that something we can progress, or do we need to change? We tried to rugby punt right and left-footed, and Justin had a little trouble with that. So, but can you directional punt and still use the rugby protection? So we're looking at those things. We got to find kickoff returners. We got to find punt returners. So we're constantly looking at who we have.
And different styles to do that. I know that Dwayne's all the time looking at different, because everybody's got different things. I mean, return game, the kicking game is such a huge part of the game.
It is. And we saw that this year. It was the difference in ball games for us. We're trying to see what we can do differently on kickoffs. Very few people are covering kickoffs well anymore. You know, we're mad at
a
ourselves.
guy that can kick it out of the other end.
Well, and that's what we're looking at. I think that's the best way to keep them from returning it.
The guy that can kick it out of the other end.
Yeah. I still think one of the biggest changes in college football
30-yard line.
is the 30-yard line. It changed the game. You have twice as many returns. And if we're playing great defense, so if a team has to start at the 20, the odds of them scoring not very good. They get it back to the 50 now. They
got a 50% chance of scoring.
They got a 50% chance. Defensively, we want to know, why didn't we stop the last drive at Tech? Why didn't we stop the last drive against Nebraska? Why didn't we stop the last drive against Alabama? So our defensive coaches are really looking at trying to figure out right before the half and at the end of the game, just tweaks. Yeah. I mean, neither one moved it well, but they kicked a field goal at Nebraska. They got the touchdown at Tech. Yeah. They got the ball down inside the 10 at the Alabama game. So we're looking at that. We did such a better job of forcing turnovers this year than last year. Why? We're going to go back and look at everything we did last year and everything we did this year and see why we got the turnovers, because we were huge in the turnover ratio. We did a great job of ball security last year. We moved the ball well offensively last year. We were more inconsistent this year. We had more turnovers. So why? What happened there?
Yeah.
And now when you change quarterbacks, you have to tweak your offense toward that quarterback.
Right.
We did feel like that.
And Greg's done a great job of that. Just go through the flow of the transition of the four in the last decade. When you look at Major, Chris, Vince, and Colt, you just look at that. Each one of them did different things.
Yeah. Well, we've had years, and I know we ran the wishbone many of those years. But we've had years without a pro quarterback. We've had 3 with Colt here now. Major probably could have played and decided not to, but with Chris Sims and Vince, seeing those two stand out there on the field at the national championship game, and having Major standing out there as well, and then having Colt walk out. Been a pretty good run of quarterbacks here. And then we talk about Chance Mack, who was a great player that had 17 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. when Vince came in because we weren't protecting him very well. So we've had a good run with quarterbacks, but we've been able to tweak the offense a little bit for each one. Garrett is obviously the front runner at that position, even though there's 3 other guys competing with him now. So what you have to